to gather animal blood. Next. Next. Thank you. And here we are to her. And her is the key operative word. You've heard many different stories of the Sphinx. It's Harem Haket. It's Horus in the horizon. It represents a king Khafre making an offering to the sun. Well, according to the indigenous tradition, it's she. Her name is Tefnut. She represents an aspect of the Great Mother, because to the Cometians, the sky was feminine. Female, represented that's which created it, that which is uncreated, called Nut, N-U-T. When Nut wanted to manifest on the earth, on the planet, she spit on the earth. Tefnut means the spittle of Nut, and it was right here at Giza. And according to this tradition, she is the oldest statue on our planet that we know of now. There may be things older, but that her date is 54,000 years. 54,000 years, not 4,500, like Zahir Was will tell you, and not he, like Zahir Was will tell you. That the face has been recarved many times. This is not the original face. But I wrote an article for David's Wex magazine in 1995 where I speculated the face as it is today is that of a black African woman's face. She was the mother of the first king of the first dynasty, whose name was Hor-Aha or Men-Aha. The Greeks called Menes. And to honor his mother, he had the face of the Sphinx recarved to her face. It's not a man's face to any degree. Anybody will take you to Egypt, you look at her, and if you can still tell me you think that's a man's face, well, I mean, that's your prerogative. But I can tell you how many people I've taken, given this indigenous tradition, say, just look at the face. And people, I can't see how anybody cannot see it's not a woman's face. And it's a black African face, without a doubt. It's not a Caucasian male face, not by any degree. But it's not the original face. The original face was probably more like a lioness human face. We'll show you a little bit more of that later as another netter will come up. So she, Tefnut, was carved in 3 stages. First the head and the forepaws, and this has been verified by the work of Robert Schock and John Anthony West, who showed that the erosion at the front of the Sphinx is twice as much as the back. Then she was carved in the middle section, and then the tail. So she's carved over thousands and thousands of years. But the original carving, Hakim tells us, he just puts a figure, 54,000 years. And he tells us before it was even carved as a statue, this outcropping, which is called in geology a yardang, was sacred because of the energy there. He always tells us the energy of the site dictates what's there. Why we have pyramids, why we have the Sphinx, is that Giza, in my opinion, may be the #1 power place on our planet. She was just an outcropping of limestone. He said people used to come here 56,000 years ago just to energize themselves, just to meditate by her. So it's she. Here's her face. You can actually see some of the red and yellow paint that was her original paint. Originally it was yellow, then painted red, and it's since been, of course, eroded. But I was fortunate just a week and a half ago, it actually rained in Giza the whole day, which is unheard of. And I went to see her the next day. It was like she had a bath, like a shower. The colors were so vivid and bright. And unfortunately, my camera didn't pick them up as well as I would like to. But you could really see the colors in her face now. And again, it's an African woman's face, without a doubt. Next. Here's close-up, where I showed the close-up. I did this last year, 2003. And you go on a tour with Angela, which we're leading a tour next October. She's leading another one in November, where you can actually go into the paws of the Sphinx now and get close to her, which I couldn't do until just 2003. It's a marvelous experience. So I took this picture to show that the jaw has been damaged. Why has the jaw been damaged? Because the Egyptologists tell you that they had a name for her, Harem Achet, Horus in the horizon. Well, it was an attempt to masculinize her. In the patriarchy, which I talk in great detail in my current book, How Patriarchy Arose, they put a false beard on her. And it's not there anymore, is it? She spit it out. She said, "What the hell are you trying to do to me?" It's in a corner in the Cairo Museum. I couldn't find it again. The Cairo Museum is a zoo. It's really hard to find things in the Cairo Museum. But it's stuffed in a little corner in the Cairo Museum, this little chintzy piece of limestone that is the beard. And you can obviously see it wasn't part of the original structure and not there today. Next. This shows the erosion. Again, I'm not going to go into great detail about this. This is John Anthony West, Robert Schock. Schock, a great geologist, 17-page resume. Andrea actually leads tours to Egypt with Robert Schock, one in March. Incredible man. I've met him. Wonderful person. He's convinced without a doubt that this is water erosion. Not only water erosion, but caused by rainfall. Rain beating down for thousands of years. Next, we'll go into more closer detail of that. thousands of years, water, this he says is a textbook example of water erosion. Not wind and sand, as Zahi Was and Mark Lehner will tell you. Cannot have been done in the last 4,500 years. It hasn't rained significantly in this area of the world. Like I said, it rained one day. That's probably all it's going to rain all year. 4 inches of rain a year at Giza. Hasn't rained significantly in 8,000 to 10,000 years here. So it has to be the Sphinx is older than that. Because these blocks were all quarried out of here to build the temples, the structures in front of the Sphinx today, which are erroneously called, mistranslated as Valley Temple or Sphinx Temple. So this area has to be older than 8,000 years. Next, we'll show you even more detail. As Robert Schoch tells us, this is all stratified. Again, limestone is what's called a sedimentary rock. It forms in layers, sedimentary layers underneath the ocean for millions of years. So one layer is put upon another. It contains the bodies of marine animals. This is called nummulitic limestone. The animals are called nummulites, little sea creatures. You can find them embedded in there today. And it lays deposits. So sometimes there's a soft layer, a hard layer, a softer layer, a harder layer. And what Schoch has meticulously documented for us, it is the harder layers of this limestone that are more eroded, meaning only rainfall beating down at an angle for thousands of years could have caused this type of erosion. She has to be older than 10,000 years. And Schoch is not alone. When he gave a presentation at the American Society of Geologists in San Diego in 1995, I think it was, he had 250 geologists lined up after his presentation to verify, to stand with him, not caring what Egyptologists said, to document that he's absolutely right about this erosion. Next. And this is what Mark Lehner likes to point to. Oh no, this erosion was caused in prehistory because here we have a volcanic fissure that shows, or a seismic fissure that shows that this was an earthquake. This fissure has nothing to do with the erosion. It just shows the ignorance that these people try to portray as wisdom and intelligence. This fissure caused millions of years ago has nothing to do with this erosion. Nothing whatsoever. Next. The back of the Sphinx, clearly showing water erosion. Clearly, this is not wind and sand. Wind and sand does not do limestone like this. And it's wonderful you can go and touch it these days. It's just a great experience. Next. And this is a very important piece. I want you to keep this in your mind. This is what Chris will go into much more detail about. This is the particular what we call rose quartz. I showed you other examples of it. Rose quartz granite, which comes from Aswan, where we take you, and I'm going to show you a slide of it, some 400 miles as the falcon flies from this area to Aswan. I say this altar is 50,000 years old. It's just my opinion. This is the original structure. Again, Chris can talk about the type of, it's clearly eroded. It's been attacked. It's been subject to wind and sand since then. But original precision and tolerance is here. This is Chris's expertise. But I want you to look at this color. Keep the color. This is the natural color of rose quartz granite. Okay, let's move. The stele that's in front of the Sphinx tells the story of Thutmose IV. I'm not going to talk about it. It talks about him supposedly clearing the sand away from the Sphinx. She made him king. But what's shown here is underground structures under the Sphinx, showing that she's on her own platform. Looks like there's chambers, rooms, structures underneath the Sphinx. They don't talk about this. They just like to talk about the story that shows that he mentions Khafre's name or title here somewhere, showing that Khafre never mentions Khafre built the pyramid. It mentions just the title. I believe it mentioned that Khafre also cleared the sand away, and they don't want to talk about that because they're not going to talk about the Sphinx being buried in sand right after she was built or carved, because that's impossible. Next. This is the alabaster floor in the Sphinx temple. One of the alabaster floors still extant. I date this floor at perhaps 50,000 years old. Still there today. And it's for sound resonance, for harmonics. Next. Here we are in the Great Pyramid. Let me see where we are.